Hi everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of July the 4th, 2022. We have a really interesting sky ahead of us because this is where the energies are starting to shift, and some of the energy shifts are quite significant because Mars is one of the power players who is going to be changing signs. So that means the will, the focus, the energy levels, even physically, are definitely be going to rearranging themselves, better said, because in the sign of Taurus, Mars is not as comfortable as it was or and still is in its home sign of Aries. But also towards the middle of the week, the big celestial conversations are going to die down a little bit, so that might give us a moment of respite. But Mercury is going to be making very strong key conversations with other power players, and at the same time, Uranus is going to hold a very strong and surprising, like always, sextile with the Sun. So even though the bigger and more karmic energies are not as intense towards the middle of the week, we still have a lot of unexpected elements, surprises, or maybe the surprise comes from within us. Epiphanies, realizations, communication, news from friends, from family, from the local community. So a lot of energy right now with the Sun in Cancer. Well, it's the community or family, emotional world, and in 2022 more than ever because community wise, all of us have been through so much. Regardless of where it is that we live in the world, everywhere the community received massive blows just 2 years ago, let's say. So, and it's still, that is still is ongoing right now, especially where I live, in Eastern Europe because of the Ukrainian war. You know, even in neighboring countries where the war is not in our country, but the refugees, and it's everywhere in the news, and it's the vibe. The vibe is violent. Basically, you can feel the violence even here. It's not something that you see, it is not something that you can touch, it's not even something that you speak about because it's not news anymore, so no one really talks about it, no one really wants to focus on it, but you can still just feel a certain kind of restlessness, a little bit of anxiety in the air. And not that you're afraid, it's not fear, it's just something not nice happening and it's bothering you. It's not just empathic, it's also basically the nervous system. It's just bugging you. It's not letting you be as normal, as peaceful, as calm as you could be. So basically that echoes energetically all over the planet. So we already have like a fiery expression of disruption, and this is where I want to get, because the moment of respite might be very much needed, because at the very beginning of the week we have an anaretic Mars followed by anaretic Mercury. Now what does this mean? Mars is extremely powerful in its home sign of Aries, warrior energy, and also most most Mars in Aries seasons, to be honest, heat waves, heat strokes physically affecting people, because Aries is the head and Mars the fire, overheating, solar burn and stuff like that. Yeah, that's part of the summer, but usually when Mars holds not so nice and easy conversations from his home sign, that kind of appears like a very vengeful summer. And fire hazards, electrical equipment just stopping to work, but not like Mercury retrograde where there is a small bug or something, but flames, explosion, or it's kaput for real. So we could see this play out in our local community, in the world, and of course violence, crime rates, fighting, verbal aggression, mediatic warfare, any kind of aggression energy, it really played out this Aries season. But when it's an erratic, That means this is highly concentrated. This is really the theme. And when Mars is anoretic, it is really, really difficult not to lash out, not to say the angry word. An angry word is gonna be a big theme, especially again at the very beginning of the week, because Mars and Mercury, both anoretic, are holding a sextile. Now, a sextile is empowerment, whatever you do with it. And if you want to use it aggressively, yep, it is definitely going to be very, very aggressive, intimidating, and leave very powerful wounds because the word is a very strong weapon. And Mercury anoretic in its home sign of Gemini, that's the word. But Gemini also rules the hands, so that means fist fighting. So at the very beginning of the week, we are definitely going to be seeing brawling, fist fighting, trouble at the pubs, trouble because of alcohol, Neptune retrograde, and Cancerian energy. Well, water signs, yes, they're radically different from one another, but they all have similar darker sides. So drunkenness is not just something that Pisces masters. All water signs or people with strong water placements, even transiting ones, well, the chemistry is gonna definitely be working. But where I want to go with this is that, fist fighting, Black Moon Lilith in the sign of Cancer, that will definitely mean that alcohol and substances are gonna add the finishing touch to the conflict, so it's gonna be aggressive. So be very careful. If you don't want to get involved in violence, just somehow try to avoid it at the beginning of the week at least. And Mercury in Gemini, that means traffic. If you are someone who is easily annoyed in traffic, oh please be careful, because as I said, either angry word swearing or fist fighting, but sometimes this energy can play out in a weird manner, because if it turns inwards, well, that can make you so upset that you faint, overheat, stroke, heart attack. So be careful of the level of upset. Okay, of course, this will trigger many of us in one way, shape, and form, but 50% of that is how much we allow and add to it. So we must make sure to be our most serene selves as possible and apply every trick in the book to keep ourselves calm. And on the other hand, physically speaking, be careful when driving. And it's not necessarily accidents that I want to warn about, but more like overheating, or have to have water with you in the car, the aircon to work, not to go on very long trips when you know that there's a heat wave in your area and stuff. So be very careful with heat and fire at the beginning of the week. And also with Mercury, well, that's travel, shorter distance travel, especially if you're like business travel or visiting a friend, relative, or whoever in just the next city. Like short, still have water with you, everything that you could need in a heat wave, basically. So, and also with Mars and Heretic, be very careful at work with health and safety. Like, this isn't the Uranus energy where it's determined to be something unexpected. This is where if you overwork, if you are very, very determined, to complete the job, even if it takes you all night, this is when you don't know your limit. You don't want to know your limit. So you can really burn yourself out physically big time. Be careful with lifting heavy weights, heavy stuff. And as I said, this is not Saturn really with heavy. It's just Mars not knowing the limit. So know the limit. Because this anoretic Mars is really shadowy. And Mars by the ancient was considered the greater malefic. Now, after this being said, Mars is going to leave the sign of his own home sign of Aries and enter Taurus on the 5th of July. Now, this is where this energy shift might feel a little bit uncomfortable because just a day before, oh, conflict is in the air and so much action, impulsivity, and of course, in the best way as well. Don't get me wrong. Bravery, someone really doing the right thing, someone going above beyond the call of duty and succeeding, triumph, victory, hero moments, applause moments, well done moments. Yes, 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 absolutely. That must be part of the picture. But it's kind of bittersweet in any way, shape, and form because Mars holds the square to Pluto. So there's still powerlessness, there is still need, emergency. Even if the hero situation occurs, well, the hero was very, very needed. So it's not a miracle. It's thank goodness, it was the way it was. This Mars and Pluto square triggers a lot of, heaviness in any way, shape, and form. But ultimately, the divine purpose of that is heroes to jump and do the right thing, and not necessarily to save the situation, to inspire others, the masses. Jupiter in the sign of Aries, the individual. The individual needs to be brave, and bravery and courage is infectious, just like COVID. When one person can be brave and really, really do it, that is infectious, and that is what we should be seeing, according to the divine at least. So the divine is cutting out our TVs, our internet isn't the news, and in our own personal lives, regardless where we go or what we are living, it tries to show us the good examples. This person did that, how wonderful. This person was like vulnerable or disadvantaged, but still mustered the strength to ... complete the dots with your case. So this is where the universe is truly showing us positive examples and how grateful we can be for that. But of course, Mercury anaretic is also in trouble because it holds a square with Neptune, disillusioning and saying hard to speak words, truth, communication, or lies, deception, being manipulated, and cons. This isn't a Mercury retrograde, but it's a Neptune retrograde, so still con artist, fraud, all of this heavy deception energy. So be very, very careful who you share your information with, bank account, what messages you get with the links. Be careful who you trust, especially with finances and money and personal data. Gemini, personal data, your information, your identity, data, passport, ID, driving license, all of that. So be very, very careful, and especially digitally, because every single air sign also rules the internet. Different parts of it. Aquarius may rule the highly technical part of it, but Gemini rules what we do with it. Google is kind of more Gemini than other signs, and Libra, what we can achieve with it, the diplomacy and connection, deep, you know, Libra, where we are connected to basically anyone. This is one scale, this is us, and who's on the other scale is anyone of our choosing, basically, in this day and age. Because digitally, we can see their Facebook, we can see stuff about them, we don't even necessarily have to have a dialogue, so that's very Libra-like, because we get access to information and we just subjectively try to judge ourselves and compare. That's a bad thing when we want to compare ourselves to others. And actually, I have to include this in my horoscope because Mercury also holds a quincunx, an inconjunction, a minor astrological conversation with Pluto. So this means fear, which is misguided. This means, very twisted judgment. This is when we don't really see the world very, very correctly, but we just can't imagine that it is exactly us who is wrong out of all people. And everyone, like, for example, I'm an astrologer, so usually I should be on the writer side, if you know what I mean. But there are certain things in my life where I'm totally moronic, like a total idiot. and self-awareness. I have to know this about myself and go against my nature and ask my best friend or someone to tell me the reality of stuff, because I am not able to judge it any way, shape, and form. So this quincunx, what I'm doing, my example is a good way to do something with the quincunx, because if you know that there is a person who knows that you are not very good in something and you cannot even judge it correctly, then that person helps you with a simple advice, this, and that, and you don't even question it. Because there is like an alliance, an invisible alliance between you and that person. That person basically is an extra sensory thing for you, where it just helps you to determine the reality of a situation or whatever it is, because all of us are really really bad at something, and at that something, instead of struggling, we can have a person. But sometimes at the quincunx, when we don't have that person, or when we think we know better, or when it is the universe who tries to somehow steer us to a truth and we are stubborn, that's when we can get into a lot of misunderstanding, confusion. But what did he mean? What did she say? What was the actual message in this? All this situation. And other times, well, Pluto, bad news. But before you judge a news that it's bad, try to look at it from a much bigger picture. Like someone passed away. Is that bad news? But that person was near 100 year of age. Well, you know what I mean. Nature has its course. So this is where we have to see the polarity of things much more correctly. And usually we should go with the flow, but other times let's keep the polarity as it is. Let's not mix. So we must have to judge correctly the nature of things, because Gemini, light and dark, good news, bad news. Is it or is it not? If you know what I mean, let's not leave it under just suspicion. This is where, sometimes in life, we need to be sure of ourselves, and in order to be sure that we are in the reality of a situation, sometimes we need to ask that person who actually knows and we can trust, leaving pride and stuff like Pluto aside. Now, another important energy is that Pelosithina conjunct Sedna, also anoretic, both of them. That's a lot of anoretic energy. So this is where there is going to be a lot of triggers at the beginning of the week. That's why the rest of the week, maybe we have to rest one way or another from the triggers, or work with the triggers, so we won't have time for big shocks, because the shocks tend to come at the beginning of the week and then at the very end of the week. But before we get there, so the Sedna conjunct Pelosithina, a calculated sacrifice which could go a long, long way. Maybe Taurus, an act of generosity, or sharing something which usually is unshareable with someone else, and that saving a situation. But then Pelosithina enters Gemini, and this is where it's a really, really good energy for negotiations, for sales, for business ideas, business plans, tactics, getting connected to the best possible people, to the best possible professionals. If you need a expert at this, that, and that, Pelosithina and Gemini can really, really help you. Especially that the Sun and Mercury were just there not so long ago, so their energy still lingers, and Pelosithina activates it in a tactical way. So that's a really, really good energy. And where tactic fails, Pelosithina can show us the path to strength, to force, how to get it by force. Of course, not in a bad way, just in a philosophical way, so to speak. So, another very interesting energy, that Mercury enters into the sign of Cancer, while Mars ultimately enters into the sign of Taurus. So that means the sextile they hold at anoretic degree is going with them, following them when they change signs. And that is very, very unusual and very, very empowering, because we have to look at the elements of Mars and Mercury. So Mars from fire and an erratic degree. In there, Mars found something to spark up its maximum determination. So that means there is a strong will at play. Whatever you use that will towards, that's something totally different. Mercury, on the other hand, in Antaretic Gemini, made the choice, chose the polarity, or associated themselves with an ideal, with a plan, with something. So there is stability in information. So you know, you want something, you know something. That to me says a choice. Maybe just an inner choice. It can be anything spiritual, even ethereal, even, but still, a choice is what kind of builds reality, if you know what I mean. So this choice then is executed because Mercury entering into the sign of Cancer, well, this immediately says sharing the information with Cancer family, processing it emotionally, receiving emotional help, or if those plans are partnership, love, family, anything of that nature, moving, relocating, changing houses, investing in property, real estate, redecorating your home, moving countries, moving cities, anything Cancer related, well, you can imagine that in Taurus is going to be executed. Mars, action, Taurus, value system, money, investment, stability, material life, including health wise for some people, changing locations, or life change equals better health, or your better health equals a better, healthier, happier family, happier children, you know. So, and for a lot of people, you know, this is the opposite, divorce, going solo. But the sextile, going solo or quitting the job, a big life change that is executed, a quitting, a decision to end something, terminate something, which goes so well with the eclipses, which goes so well with an erratic, quitting that job, quitting that marriage, quitting that relationship, quitting that lifestyle, quitting the drug, quitting the addiction, quitting alcohol, quitting a toxic form of spirituality, quitting self-victimization, quitting something or terminating something. Freedom tastes sweet from the very first second. So the sextile, this is when the sextile executing this or living a new life, doing it, executing what the decision that you've made, feels so empowering, feels so, as I said, sweet from the first second. It's not easy, but it's not hard because the rewards are immediate. Now, just on its own, Mars in the sign of Taurus, well, it's not very comfortable because Mars is the ancient ruling planet of Scorpio, Taurus is the opposite sign of Scorpio. It's debilitated, it's imprisoned. It has to be calculated, restricted, slow, Taurian like, but whenever Mars is in Taurus, it's the volcanous expression, volcano, heat, financial heat, value heat, you know, debt, having to pay debt back, having to sort out finances, and we are gonna be seeing this on the world stage as well. And on the world stage, you know, Taurus is agriculture, Mars is fire, heat, the sun, solar flare. So sometimes this can equal that smaller damages are made by solar activity in agriculture, like a drought or burning, the sun simply burning out vegetation, vegetation fires. So, you know, sometimes even landslides are possible. But anyway, let's speak about Mars sextiling Mercury. So this energy of empowerment is basically for everyone. Mercury is the mind, Mars is the will. This is where it's easier to focus and just be determined, stick to your choices, stick to your decisions, and you can see quick and immediate results. And also Mercury in the sign of Cancer. Okay, it's not very ideal for science and, you know, quantum physics, but it's really ideal to figure out what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, emotional intelligence, empathy, making new friends, finding your own peace, finding new friends even. And this is where Cancer friends are not the Gemini season type of friends or Aquarian season type of friends. It is that friend who is simply so nurturing. You don't need to have like a very strong soul level bond and connection with the person. A friend is just a friend, a pleasant person. You don't ask them their life story, you just enjoy that, I don't know, half an hour or hour that you spend together doing whatever united you in the first place. So this is really, really good that emotions nurture the mind. Positive emotions, music, spending time with people who you feel easy to be yourself with around. Does that even dramatically make sense what I said? Anyway, so pleasant people, people who just make you feel light as a feather. You can laugh, joke, or cry, or whatever you want, because they're light-hearted as well. So this is really, really good. But at the same time, Mercury connection, internet, the newer expression of Mercury, well, fine for finding love, finding romance, finding partners who are emotionally at least compatible with you is encouraged, because Venus is in Gemini. So Gemini is internet, Gemini is dating, Gemini is we are who we speak. We are our words, we are our writing, but basically our thoughts about ourselves. So this is where, judging by your words, how you speak, how you communicate, how you present yourself, you can dress yourself up, energetically speaking, into the most sexiest or the most attractive, most glittering vibes that will definitely get you all the attention, and that will definitely get you the really, really beautiful, attractive boy and girl. Because whenever Venus is in Gemini, words and how you present them, how you dress them up, well, they basically irradiate your aura. So it actually makes you more attractive, even quantumly, if you know what I mean. So use that opportunity and find a mate through what you speak, through what you share, through even your music choices. Use this Venus and Gemini empowerment when you have to share your preferences, basically, because your preferences are you, how you present yourself. There are your energetic clothing, your energetic style. So yeah, this can be very attractive. And also sextile Mercury, that's one way how to use this to attract or to conquer, but through words and speech and mercurial matters. For example, mercurial way of dating, actually mating call, that's what I wanted to say, but dating is one of them. You travel, as in short distance travel. You go out with a person, have a nice conversation, and say goodbye, go home, and think about one another, replay the scenario, and make an image of that other person. And that's so much better than going in bed with that person. Just go home and just analyze, not in a Virgo way, just in a playful way, what that person shared with you, for example. So this can create such beautiful love connections without Lilith in the sign of Cancer lust. But Mercury will meet Lilith in Cancer this week. And just a moment, let me check my notes. On the 9th of July, they will meet in the sky. So dark words, especially family issues, family secrets, Mercury secrets, Black Moon Lilith in the family. So we will see this on the world stage, sexual secrets coming out on public. Cancer is a cardinal sign, so just like Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, all of them have something public to them when we look at this sign publicly, as in generally, collectively speaking. So yeah, secrets, dirty secrets coming out, but of course, for other people still coming out of the closet, so that's the most beautiful and courageous expression of this energy. and in any way, shape, and form, coming out of the closet. Look, this is who I am, and accept me by. And that is also encouraged, and we will see this play out on the world stage and in the media as well. Why? The sun holds a sextile with Uranus, and this energy is going to be exact on the 10th of July. How truly beautiful, because surprises. Sun in Cancer, emotion. Sun illuminating Cancer. We know who we are. We know because we feel it. The light of emotion, the light within the heart, the light of, imagine when there is a beautiful summer day and the light of the sun just plays with the water, with a river, with a stream, and how the waves of the water, but the gentle one, not like a massive wave in the ocean or the sea, just a gentle, small little wave, you know, splitting the sunlight into a prism, into a almost rainbowy kind of play of light. That is basically the sun in Cancer. It brings forward the sacredness of all. The sun is the light of all, and it doesn't just give life, it triggers emotion, it warms the water, it makes it more friendlier to even creatures, beings who are not native to water. For example, humans and most like land animals. They can swim, but the water has to meet certain conditions, because only polar animals can swim in ice water, and only other animals can swim in very, very warm water, if you know what I mean. So yeah, the sun is in Cancer is when it warms up the water so all of us can enjoy it, and this symbolically saying, practically, emotionally, we're all a bit open, we're all a bit more mature, forgiving, accepting. The darker side of this borders ethnicity, and we will see this play out on the world stage. Ethnical wars, borders, don't cross my border, migration problems. And sadly, we saw Black Moon Lilith play out in the United States with the migrants, and it's so, so, so sad. But I know I'm gonna be cut out, so I'll be back with the second part of this horoscope in a few moments.